You go on a first date with someone. What habit or characteristic is a deal breaker? I went on a date with a girl. This date was a disaster. She got food in her hair and all over the place. She wouldn't get off her phone, and she stabbed herself in the cheek with her fork because she wasn't paying attention. I've never seen her since. This sounds like something from a TV series. Good grief. Here is a great story. First date in college. I drive a truck and live in a city, so spots are tight. This spot is particularly tight. So I say, this is a tight spot, so watch your door when you open it. Girl, are you telling me how to open my door? Doesn't pay basic attention and slams the door into the other car. OMG, she's such an idiot. I absolutely hate people like that, when they're sassy for no reason and proceed to do what you explicitly said not to do. Repeatedly interrupting me when I'm talking, especially when I'm answering a question they asked. It tells me they're not actually engaged in what I'm saying. I know a girl who asks every guy she goes on a date with what his credit score is. She wants to make sure they're financially stable. Also, she's 23 and doesn't know how to pump gas. Self-deprecating to the point where everything needs to be somehow connected in a negative way back to yourself. Like literally everything. While chatting it's even more obvious. Sad faces all the time. I'm dumb. I don't deserve what I've achieved, etc. Capital O. How about when I was invited out with a guy I met online to a nearby sushi place? We'd texted and chatted for about a week till I finally felt comfortable meeting him. Date picked me up. The conversation on the drive there was great. Seemed like we were connecting. However, while at the restaurant, he proceeded to order about $100 worth of sushi, while I ordered maybe a roll and some appetizers. My total would have been about $30 at most. I tried to engage him, but quickly realized the conversation was lacking. Because he was busy, he proceeded to text on his phone the entire time at dinner, ignored me and took pics of his food, posted that the place we were at was amazing. He ate everything in front of him. Okay, gotcha. At this point, I knew what was going on, and when the bill came, he was still on his phone, posting, texting, laughing at the response to his posts. He ignored the waiter, plus the bill. The waiter politely left it on the table. I looked at my date, then the waiter. Date never looked up from his phone. I then quietly and politely asked the waiter to split our bill. Since date was so consumed with his phone, he didn't notice. Waiter retrieved the bill, adjusted it, then came back with separate bills this time. The look on my date's face when he was handed a $100 bill for his food was priceless. I paid mine with my card, plus a hefty tip. Date asked me out. Oh crap, I forgot my wallet. Can you spot me? I just pretended I was on my phone and left him there, and walked out the door. I'd already ordered an Uber at this point, since he drove us there. And yes, don't worry, the waiter got a massive tip. About the amount of my bill, it wasn't his fault that the date was in a shat. I just pretended I was on my phone and left him there, and walked out the door. What a power move. If they are hard to talk to, might not make them a bad person. But obviously there is no chemistry if all I get are one-word answers where they also don't reciprocate questions. So your teacher, right? Yep. Well, that's cool. What grade? Second. Or what a great age. That's like the perfect time cause kids still kind of like school. Check please. I still get this with my girlfriend sometimes. I think some people can just be natural listeners. Obviously it won't be received very well on the first date. Being a know-it-all, I had lunch with someone who called the table salt sodium chloride and used the bread as a way to tell me everything he knew about complex carbohydrates, some of which wasn't even correct, and their connections to evolutionary theory just felt like he was compensating for something. Getting so drunk on the first date that you can't figure out Uber and I have to drive you home. No, you can't stay on my couch, I don't know you. I did this once. That relationship ended up lasting 2 years though. Was going to just be a hookup. My first time doing that, so I got drunk to not be nervous. Got too drunk. He took me back to his house and out me in pajamas and fed me pizza and held my hair while I puked. I thought he would never want to see me again, but he was cool about it. On their phone the whole time. If you can't disconnect for an hour or so to engage with me, then it's not going to work. They talk over me and spend the conversation giving me unsolicited advice about how to live my life. The amount of guys who think negging is a good flirting technique is ridiculous. Contrary to what you read on WikiHow, insulting a girl doesn't make her want to impress you, it just makes her realize you're dong. One guy I matched with on Tinder asked me for my Snapchat, and when I gave it to him he said, "Oh, I don't want it. I'm not attracted. Wouldn't want to go on a date or anything disgusting like that." He was trying to flirt, but it was an instant turn off. I'm not here to be insulted or put down, and being rude isn't cute. I was once set up to go on a blind date with this girl. We were given each other's email addresses, and so I hit her up. We exchanged a few pleasantries, then set up a date time to finally meet. The day of, I get an email from her in the morning with an attachment. I open up the attachment and there is a questionnaire with like 25-30 questions on it. She requested I kindly fill out the questionnaire before we meet. I quickly reviewed the questions before sending her a reply saying that it's probably best we don't meet. I don't know what characteristic she embodied, but I'd say that was a deal breaker. I was on a double date with this one girl. She seemed really cool and I was having fun on the date. Then she stuck her pinky in her ear to scratch and pulled out some earwax. That was a little gross. But then she ate the earwax. I decided right then to not go on a second date. Someone who makes me read their bad poetry. This has happened to me more than once. Lying about their appearance. Very specific example. Guess which one? But you see their pictures. They look nice and then they are different in person. What's the point? As a rule, if they have dog ears, a butterfly halo, or are puking a rainbow, what you see isn't what you'll get. One of my best friends casually began to date one of my ex-girlfriend's friends. He was really starting to like her and took her out on consistent dates, a few sleepovers, etc. My ex-girlfriend told me this girl was texting her about her date with my friend later that night. My ex asked her if she was into him as much as he was her. Her literal response was no, but free food is free food. I was hurt for him. Devastated. I didn't want him to feel what I felt, and I wasn't even the one dating her. I took my friend, roommate at the time also, aside that afternoon and asked him to please delete her number and never talk to her again. I didn't say why. I just asked him to trust me and to please stop seeing her. It's for the honest best. Knowing me for years and years, he politely accepted my request and deleted her, without question. He knew I knew something and understood I was helping him avoid emotional pain and disappointment. He is too nice of an individual to experience that. Trust goes a long way. You are a true friend, Drunken. Be proud of that. I don't hate people who smoke particularly, but my parents smoked so much that I promised myself to never date someone who smoked. I used to smoke. I have been smoke free for 3.5 years now. It is amazing how different I smell, and how I never noticed. I don't know how non-smokers put up with being around me smoking all the time. They only want to talk about themselves. I once had a 2-hour blind date. By the end, I knew everything about this girl. I knew all of her cats by name, and what their favorite movies were. She asked me literally nothing, and just kept jumping from topic to topic. At the end of the date, she wanted to trade numbers, and I couldn't help but ask what's my name, and she didn't know. So I just paid for my meal and left. Oh, I have another. If a person tells you they are in love with you after one day together, they might try to move into your house, then try to attack you when you ask them to leave. But that's a story for another time. Classic Mosby. I once went on a date with a girl who, upon learning my credit score, said, "Wow, I'd probably let you frick me in the butt." Their drinking manners. If they insist I drink, or suggest drinks shots after I've declined multiple times, I'll either think you have a problem, or you're trying to get me drunk, both of which I don't want. Men who insist you come over, or they come over. I'm all about prolonging a good date, and would love to go to another spot, but I really hate when men invite me over to their place, or suggest coming to mine at the end of the night. Even worse when they get super pouty when I decline. Being way too touchy. One time I went on a movie date. Mans took out his thing out of nowhere. I was like, woo, there's people and this is our first date. Asking me 0 questions about myself while talking incessantly about themselves. It's alarming how many dudes do this. Why bother going on a date with another human if all you want is to hear yourself talk? Had a first date with a guy from Tinder. He wanted to play the "what celebrity do people say you look like" game. He told me, Daniel Craig. I know. Then I replied, yay, some people have told me Katy Perry but I don't think so. He said, no, you know who you look like, Ben Affleck. I'm a woman BTW. Needless to say, there was no second date. If you smack your lips or chew with your mouth open, it's game over. Not sure I could even make it to the end of dinner. For me, during at least some point during a first date, I think hobbies or passions are brought up. I really don't care what hobbies you have. You could be into the dumbest crap ever. As long as you are into something, anything. My red flag is when she says she goes to bars and clubs and thinks that's a hobby. I note the frick out. Maybe she meant her hobby is to go to bars and club people to death. It's not ideal, but at least it's a conversation starter. Just make sure the date isn't at a bar. If they order shots, I always do brunch as a first date because it places 0 expectation on what happens after. So, if you order freaking shots at 11:30 AM on a Saturday, we probably aren't going to work out. Appropriate username. Went on a Tinder date where she tried to sell me on her pyramid scheme. Didn't know that was a deal breaker until it happened. 1-upping. 2-upping. Snobs about interests. I understand you might love 1950s jazz deep cuts, but that doesn't make me an idiot because I like Jennifer Lopez. Flat earther believer, anti-vaxxer, rude to staff, tries too hard to look quirky or talks like an anime character. Also waterboarding conversationalist, like you have to torture them to hold a conversation. You know how people joke that buying a dog is just buying a tragedy in 10 years? That's basically how I feel about dating a smoker long term. Pro tip, just make sure you die before you're so. If they call me exotic, if they make repeated remarks on how beautiful my skin tone is, even worse when they point out that they've never been with anybody of my ethnic heritage, or when they've only dated women of ethnicities with a similar appearance to mine, feels a bit fetishizing. Complimenting me by trashing my entire gender. You really know your crap. I've never met a female who knew so much about politics. Yeah bud, you sure have, you just didn't listen. In my city, and I assume many others, there are groups of men who are referred to pick-up artists. They often do what they call the day game, which involves picking up women during the day. On the occasions it has happened to me, it has always been in the same area in the CBD. Each occasion has been eerily similar. They approach me and say something like, hey, I never do this, but I just wanted to come and tell you that I think you're really beautiful. They then proceed to ask for your number. I have always declined because I know about these games. Apparently, after the interaction they report to their coach and are praised, possibly even given points, if they score the girl's number. There was a list leaked somewhat recently from their group which detailed the best places to pick up, even as far as giving weirdly gross details like the women here are likely to be young and insecure. Long story short, these interactions are deal breakers for me. Being too shy. I get it, you're nervous going out with a guy you like, and I'm just as nervous going out with a girl I like. But when you barely say a word to me, and your body language is all tense the whole time we're out, sends some bad signals. It makes me more nervous because I can't think of what's making you so uncomfortable. And now I'm panicking that you may not want to see me again. So ladies, please just try to relax. We're crapping bricks too. Unidirectional people. Only talks about work. Only knows about sports. Only cares about traveling. Get a mix. Damn it, this might be me. Maybe sprinkle in some poop jokes here and there. Back when I was online dating, I was very open and clear about my interests. Biggest deal breaker was spending the whole date being crappy about one or more of my interests and somehow expecting that would be 1. Okay. 2. Attractive. At the end of the date, after paying the bill, I just looked across the table and said, "Look, I'm not really seeing this going anywhere." She got mad, went all huffy, said that I must have a problem with fat girls. Girl, I dated bigger women than you and I had no problem with your weight. Then spent the next few hours blowing up my phone and being crappy. Then she even got her mom involved for hurting her daughter, calling me an butthole, and I was like, should I have let her on for some time? Used her and tossed her out of my life? Cause that would have been a dong move. TL. DR. Don't make fun of a prospective date's interest. That's just crappy and unattractive. PS. She was quite cute, and if she wasn't so crappy on that date, I would have enjoyed taking her out again. Guys who make you feel bad about not going home with them. I was really excited to go out with this one guy. Had excitement jitters all day because we had initially hit it off super well, and then the date came around. But I decided not to go home with him because I liked him and wanted to prolong the courting stage a bit longer. Not even 30 seconds after I drove away, he sent me when I asked him why. He started pushing me to turn around and come over to his place. Nope the frick out of that one real quick. If someone cuts me off mid or even at the end of my sentences, it's a good sign I'll end up cutting off the relationship faster. As an ADD person who has heard this one from multiple partners, sorry. Bragging. Even worse if it's over the smallest things. A guy I was interested in kept texting me these fake brags about things that don't even matter, for example having a pet lizard that he brought home from his holidays. He also was a big fan of his own eyes. They were blue, but nothing out of the ordinary. He'd send photos saying they were unique and blue-gray and pretty. Immediate turn off. I understand the eyes thing, but the lizard sounds awesome. There are a couple common behaviors I have noticed on first dates that drive me crazy. 1. Explicitly saying nothing physical will happen on the first date and being told sleazy pushy people are their biggest turn off. Then later either forcing themselves on me or complaining I didn't make a move on them immediately. I'm fine going slow or going fast. Just be consistent. 2. Making zero effort. That could be in terms of conversation, how you dress, etc. Some people just seem to want a free meal or drink. 3. Either of another. People who can't make decisions, but also don't want to do anything anyone else suggests. How about you decide? Okay, why don't we? Any other ideas? What about? No, I'm not really into. Maybe. I don't really feel like. Why don't you suggest something? No, it's okay. I'm fine with what you want to do. Great, let's. Not right now. For frick's sake. I give up. 4. I thought of another. People who are really into you, but show no interest. You go on a date. They make no physical contact. Hardly look you in the eye. Go home at the first opportunity. Then complain you didn't chase after them. Or lost interest. I'll always try to flirt. Or even explicitly say, I had a good time. Or like someone. And often I'll get no feedback. So I'll move on to someone new. Then I'll get that person asking why I don't chase them up. It's freaking obvious why not. 5. Final one. Not common, but happened once to me and was a first date nightmare. Telling you that they are really interested in you, but if it's cool that they already have a partner. If you aren't single, please don't go on dates with other people. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.